Hello everybody, welcome back to the Motion Board Shop channel. My name is Nate Blackburn. Today we're going to be talking about the longboarding basics, the basics of how to push, ride, and stop your longboard. Before you do that, make sure that your board is set up, safe, and is road ready. We got a video for that as well, so check that out. But we're going to work on three things, which is how to push the board, how to ride the board, figuring out what stance you are, comes in with that, and then how to stop the board. We're going to start off with how to push. The first step in learning how to ride is to figure out what stance you are. And what we mean by that is what foot goes in front or feels more comfortable to you when you're riding. If you don't already know, here's a great way to figure that out. Find something stable to grab onto so that you can feel more comfortable hopping on the board. After you do that, I want you to put your feet in the middle of the board and then push yourself one way and see if that feels better. And if it doesn't, what I want you to do is try and push yourself the other way. After you do that a couple times, you'll start to get a feel for what's going to be better or more comfortable for you. There's no right answer. You just want to get set up for success by being in the direction that you're more comfortable on. So for me, I feel more comfortable with my left foot in front. They call that regular footed. If you feel more comfortable with your right foot in front, it is called goofy footed. Now that we've figured out your stance, we're going to want to get you to push the board or accelerate the board. And what that involves is having one foot on the skateboard while the other foot pushes you forward. What we're going to do is put your front foot on the nose of the board, which means if you're regular footed or left foot forward, put your left foot close to the front of the board. If you are goofy, put your right foot closer to the front of the board, and this will set us up for success when it comes to pushing. Now that you got your front foot on the board, we're going to work on pushing. If you've never done this before, it is going to feel weird. The best way to get better at skateboarding is just spending time on your board. The easiest way that I've found to be able to teach people to push is to kind of pretend that one foot is sliding on ice and the other foot's just walking. So we're just going to take little bitty baby steps. That's all we're doing. Little baby steps until eventually you feel comfortable enough to just bring your other foot onto the board. After you've pushed your board and you have both of your feet on the deck, it's important to have both of your knees bent, but in order to progress riding, you're gonna wanna have the appropriate foot positioning. So if you're regular, what you're gonna wanna do is put about 70% of your weight on your right leg or your back foot so that you can take your forward-facing left foot and pivot it. With less weight on the front foot, it'll be easier to turn your foot gently. Think about like kind of smushing a bug. That's how you're gonna make that maneuver. If you are goofy, what that's going to look like is you are going to be taking your right foot that is facing a little bit more straight, and you're going to be putting most of your weight on your back leg, your left foot, and then smushing that bug with your right foot to get to more of a perpendicular stance. Once again, so that your toes are on one rail of the board and your heels are on the other, so that when you lean on the rails, the board will turn. Now that you know how to push and ride the board, we're going to work on how to slow the board down or stop it. This is going to be done through a maneuver called foot braking, and I'm going to show you what the steps of that look like now. To learn how to foot brake, we're pretty much going to do everything we just learned backwards. So the first thing is pivoting your front foot forward so that we can foot brake, and that's going to help us face our body forward to drag a foot. So how we do that is we put about 70% of our weight on our back foot, and then we're going to pivot our front foot so that it's facing forward. So if you're regular, your left foot will now be facing forward, and then you're gonna move the majority of your weight, above 80%, onto this front foot so that your back foot is nice and light. You're gonna pretty much be balancing all on your left foot, and then you're gonna lift your right foot off the ground and gently set it onto the ground so that you can drag it. There's a couple different ways as well where you can do this, where you just like stomp the ground to slow yourself down. But if you learn to foot brake, it'll help later on if you start going faster, because eventually there becomes a speed where you can't do that foot stomp slow down. So if you're goofy, what that looks like is you are going to take the weight as you're riding along, and you're gonna put that weight pretty much all, 60 to 70% of your weight is going to move to your left foot if you are goofy, so that your right foot can smush that bug and pivot forward. So now your right foot is close to the front of the board, it is facing forward, and then you're going to shift the weight from your back foot and get the majority of your weight up on your front foot, so that what you can do is then hover your back foot off the ground and slowly move it to the ground so you can drag it and slow down. Now that I've shown you how to foot brake, there's something I want to tell you to make this all a little bit easier, and there's a couple things that we can talk about. One, when you're pushing, riding, or foot braking, it's important to have your knees bent. That way you're more reactive to changes in your riding. Whether your trucks get a little wobbly or something of that nature, you're going to be more responsive to that with your knees bent, and you're not going to be as likely to fall. The next thing that you want to do is make sure that you're keeping your front foot, so if you're regular, keeping your left foot closer to the front truck. That way you can lean a little bit more forward. If you lean a little bit more forward and keep a little bit more weight on your front truck, you'll be more stable, especially when you're pushing and foot braking. It'll also help later on avoiding speed wobbles because having your weight forward helps to prevent that. Last but not least, when it comes to foot braking, make sure to set your foot down gently. Don't just stomp it down, because at higher speeds it'll just catch and pull you off the board. And when you set it down, you want to set it down with the tip of your toes kind of curled up. That way it lands a little bit like a water ski so that it doesn't just immediately catch, because at high speeds it can be a problem. If you want to accelerate the learning process, one of the things that you can do is ride more often or work on your single leg, front leg balance. So one of the things that I do is, as I'm pushing, instead of putting my foot back onto my board, I'll take all of my weight, and if I'm riding regular, I'll put all my weight on my left foot and then float my right foot around. Having that single leg balance will allow you to push faster, as well as will make you feel more comfortable when you're foot braking, because you'll be able to steer your board with one foot. That's gonna wrap up our longboarding basics video today on how to push, ride, and stop your longboard. If you've got any questions about those procedures, if you'd like to know more about the Land Yachts Ripper deck that I was riding today, or if you just want something to see us do a video on next, how to slide, what have you, leave it in the comment box below, or give us a call at the shop. Our number is 206-372-5268. This is Nate signing off with Motion Board Shop, reminding you to always skate safe and wear your helmet.